Welcome to Football and Safe Water Training with Xylem and Man City. We're combining simple coaching sessions with important messages on water. In this module, we're focusing on germs, what they are, where they can be found, and what happens when they get inside the body. Use this game to educate your team on preventing the spread of germs. Split your group into 3 equal teams. Set up a rectangle area with cones to get started. Find out more about how football coaching can raise awareness of water challenges. Click the link to find out more. Enjoy the session.
Part 1 is about germs spreading through the air via coughing and sneezing. 2 teams will attempt to run to the opposite ends of the area. The third team act as the germs and stay on the outside attempting to throw the ball at the players. A progression of this module is for the germs to aim the ball at the other team's legs by passing it. Part 2 is about germs passing to us by animals and insects. 2 teams will compete to avoid the third team, who represent mosquitoes. The mosquitoes aim to tag the other team's players out of the game. Both teams have 3 balls which represent repellent and/or nets and cannot be tagged out when in possession of the ball. Part 3 is about germs spreading through dirty water. Mark out grids within the playing area to signify the dirty water. A yellow grid indicates an animal has urinated, and a blue circle indicates that the water is dirty and stagnant. All players have a football, and one team acts as the germs trying to tag players from the other teams or force them into the dirty water. Once tagged or forced into the dirty water, a player must leave the game, showing how drinking unclean water can make us sick.
Welcome to the Football and Safe Water Training with Xylem and Man City. We're combining simple coaching sessions with important messages on water. In this module, we are focusing on how to wash your hands to prevent the illness and the spread of germs. Set up a circular space with goals at one end to get started. Click the link to find out more. Enjoy the session.
Part 1 is about wetting our hands with water, the first step of hand washing. Assign each team to a colour. Place a number of cones that correspond to the team's colours in the middle of the circle. Explain that the circle represents a wash bowl. The cones are the drain and the goals are the taps. Water is flowing, and to wash their hands, each player must dribble their ball to a cone of their team's colour. Each player must then go in the same sequence to collect their clean ball. The players do this as fast as they can against the other teams in a race. Part 2. Use soap. Place team-coloured bibs, which represent soap, a few yards in front of each team and follow the same sequence with the bib being worn when entering the wash bowl. Part 3. Lather and count to 15. Ask the group how long we should lather our hands in soap. The answer is 15 seconds. The team repeats the sequence from Part 2, but when a player reaches the cone this time, they must dribble around the cone until their teammates count to 15. The game remains the same in a race situation. Part 4. Rinse. The players repeat Part 3, but this time they must remove their bib, the soap, on the inside of the wash bowl to have clean hands. Part 5. Shake hands dry. The final progression of the game represents drying the hands. This is introduced by adding air and movement. Repeat the full process, but at the end, each player must take a shot at goal. The winning team is the team with the most goals in the quickest time.
Welcome to the Football and Safe Water Training with Xylem and Man City. We are combining simple coaching sessions with important messages on water. In this module, we will focus on where our water comes from and what makes it safe to drink. For this activity, you need colored cones, footballs and bibs. Split the teams in 2 to get started. Click the link to find out more. Enjoy the session.
Part 1 demonstrates how water makes its way from high ground to rivers and seas. The 2 teams must bring water, the balls, down from the mountain, through the river, the cones, and into the sea. The players do this one after the other as quickly as possible to see how fast their river runs. Part 2 highlights how rivers and seas can become polluted. The players act as pollution by the water with different coloured bibs signifying different pollutants. They dribble into the water and leave balls on a red cone symbolising contaminated water. At the end of a set time, the players must work to remove contaminants and make the water as clean as possible. Part 3 shows how we make water safe to drink. Players must now collect water from the centre of the grid before dribbling back through cones, which represents gravel, filtering out sediment and metals. Once through the cones, they must pass yellow markers, faucets, to leave the clean water in the square, glass. Teams are challenged to filter their water safely without knocking over any cones. This activity can be progressed by adding further obstacles to represent sand and charcoal, which filter out pathogens and toxins. The teams must race through the sequence to see who can filter their water into the glass first.
Welcome to our football and safe water training. We are combining simple coaching sessions with important messages on water. These sessions have been inspired by Water Heroes Academy. In this module, we're going to focus on proper waste disposal. You just need cones, footballs and 3 bins. Split your teams into 3 and get started.
Part 1 is about getting waste and rubbish into the bin instead of littering the environment. Did you know 30 million tonnes of litter are collected from our streets every year? Enough to fill 4 Etihad stadiums. Set out a series of red cones in a square, each representing a piece of rubbish. Teams must pass the ball from between each cone to collect the rubbish and fill their bin. The team with the most rubbish, or cones, is the winner. Part 2 is about recycling everyday items, keeping the team bins. 4 coloured cones are placed in the square, representing different items: rubbish, paper, plastic, and aluminium or tin. The coach holds up a coloured cone and teams dribble to collect a cone of that colour. These are stacked in the team's bins, according to what category they fall into. The teams race to clear the pitch of the different items as fast as they can. Part 3 is about how we safely dispose of rubbish. Arrange the pitch so that each bin is now located next to each other. Each team aims to fill their bin with rubbish by chipping the balls into the squares. The teams must first land a ball into the square, then one player can become the catcher in the square. It's a race against time to get your rubbish into the bin. Take what you learn home by working as a team to collect litter from around your pitch and keep your community clean.
Welcome to our football and safe water training with Xylem and Manchester City. We're combining simple coaching sessions with important messages on water, sanitation and hygiene. These sessions have been inspired by Water Heroes Academy. In this module, we're going to educate your team on reducing waste and single-use plastics. In this module, you need balls, cones, bibs, mini goals and pop-up nets. Mark out a square with 4 pop-up nets to get started.
Part 1 is about how we can help the environment by avoiding single-use plastics. Set up 4 mini goals in the centre of the square. The mini goals represent 4 places: supermarket, stadium, cafe and petrol station. Each team will have 2 servers by the side of the pop-up nets on the edge of the square. Remaining players stand by the mini goals which represent their homes. Players move around and are passed different coloured balls by the servers. One colour represents single-use plastics to return back into the pop-up nets or collect in the mini goals to reuse. Part 2 highlights how we can save water by reusing or donating items we use every day. Keep the same setup with 4 pop-up nets on the edge of the square, but remove the mini goals. Balls are placed in the centre on 3 different coloured cones to represent 3 different items: clothing, furniture and books. The 4 teams then take a ball and make 4 passes between themselves before passing the ball into their net as a donation. The 3 items have different passes. Clothing is keepy-ups, books are sideways working towards the goal, and furniture requires passing in a square first. Did you know 1 football shirt takes up to 700 gallons of water to make? Giving your items a second life can save water. Part 3 demonstrates how much water we use in our everyday actions. Separate the square into 4 quarters and set up 4 zones. Teams must complete a number of passes in each station that correlate with how many gallons of water are used on average for that everyday activity. Moving from one zone to the next, aiming to be the first to return to their starting zone. Washing hands, 4. Brushing teeth, 4. Flushing the toilet, 5. Showering, 5. Educate the players on how they can reduce water usage by turning off the tap while washing hands and brushing teeth, and by using a water-saving toilet and shower heads. Repeat the game with teams performing 3 passes in each zone to reflect the reduced water usage.
Welcome to our football and safe water training with Xylem and Manchester City. We're combining simple coaching sessions with important messages on water. These sessions have been inspired by Water Heroes Academy. In this module, we're going to focus on how individual actions can help conserve water through small-sided games. For this activity, you need cones, footballs, goals and mini-goals. Split your participants into 2 equal teams and get started. Find out more about how football coaching can help raise awareness of water challenges. Click the link to find out more. Enjoy the session.
Part 1. Go meat-free 1 day a week. Meat eaters consume the equivalent of approximately 5,000 litres of water a day, compared to the 2,500 litres used by people on vegetarian diets. Play a 6v6 game to represent meat eaters versus vegetarians. Highlight the advantages of the vegetarian diet by giving them additional players for short periods of the game. Plant trees to protect the watershed. Riverbanks with trees absorb 153% more water than those without. Play a 6v6 game with the goal of making 3 passes. The aim of the 3rd pass is to receive it in the opponent's half where you want to plant the tree. You can score at any time to add a tree anywhere in their half. The aim is to plant more trees than the opposite team. The final game of this module highlights how we can protect our water. Wet wipes make up more than 90% of material that causes sewers to block. By putting wet wipes in the bin and not flushing them, we can help prevent sewage entering our rivers and beaches. In this game, the main goals represent toilets and the mini-goals are rubbish bins. Teams aim to score in the mini-goals to represent safe waste disposal. The teams can also score into the opponent's main goal, which represents flushing a wet wipe and blocking drains. Doing this means the opponent loses a mini-goal until they score again.